Realizing Your Potential LLC presents Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within. This anthology brings together women that have overcome hardships in their lives and have managed not only to survive but thrive. Their stories focus on resiliency, adaptability, and strength, acknowledging the innate strength and leadership qualities in African American women.
Woo! Welcome back, everybody. Hey, how's everybody doing? All
We
right.
doing good.
Good,
Great.
good. Ladies, we are back for a Queen's Roundtable Leadership Symposium. This is the very last panel that we are doing for this particular symposium titled Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within. And yes, I am your host, Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. Thank you so much for joining us for this panel. And I hope you had an opportunity to check out all of the other exclusive interviews. They are all here on the page. So if you didn't have a chance to join us live, go ahead and catch the replay. All right. There's a lot of good information that's being given out that you will be able to take and utilize to scale your business. Okay. Because the symposium itself caters to personal, professional, and leadership development for African American women in business. All right. So if you're an entrepreneur, I don't care if you are a new entrepreneur, if you're a seasoned entrepreneur, this is where you need to be in order to be able to scale your business the way you want to. All right. So this particular panel discussion is going to be centered around leadership, of course. And the ladies that have joined me are speakers in this particular symposium, and they're going to share some different tips and tools with you in reference to leadership. So initially, ladies, I'd like for us to start out. I want you guys, I guess, Tavara, I'm going to have you go in the order that I see you. Tavara, you go ahead, and then Tandra, let us know a little bit about you personally, as well as your business, and why you decided to be a part of this particular symposium.
Well, thank you so much, Jackie, for having me. It is definitely always a pleasure and an honor to see your face and just to be a part of this. So I just appreciate the opportunity. Again, everyone, my name is Tabara Franklin. I'm a licensed professional counselor and the founder of Healing Grounds Therapy and Wellness Center that is located in Stockbridge, Georgia, where we are cultivating hope and healing back into your life through being hot, honest, open, and transparent. I have a specialty in seeing adolescent females and young adult women, as well as women well into their adulthood from the ages of 13 and up. And I have an expertise in cognitive behavior therapy as well as reality therapy and solutions focused therapy. There I am helping individuals obtain a more of an authentic space and an authentic life where they can be able to get on the road of healing. And healing is a continuum, it's not a defined space, as well as helping them to overcome the challenges of anxiety and depression. So again, that is the pretty much the simplicity and fundamentals of what it is that I do. Not only do I see these individuals individually, but I also condone family, and I do see couples therapy. So I would not, exclude them, but I do see them as well. But majority, I am doing individuals with these adolescents as well as young adult women. Um, the reason why I wanted to come on this because I really find that it's very, very important that we have honestly women like myself who are able to break bread with other women and just speak out on the challenges, but also the, I would say, the beauty of doing what it is that we do. I find that being a leader is very, very difficult. It's challenging, but it's so rewarding. And I think that being able to bring back some of that knowledge to those who maybe, kind of fiddling on the fence as far as like, should I branch out? Do I have these abilities? Can I do it? Will I make it? The answer is yes, you can and you will, because you see before you there's women now that's actually a living proof of that. So I just wanted to be able to come on and share, some of my nuggets, and also hear the nuggets of, Dr. Price as well as Jackie, about those, about going into the things that you want to be able to go to, that you're ordained to become and destined to do.
Well, Ms. Tavara, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm so glad that you are actually a part of this symposium. And, mental health. Mental health is so important. So I'm really excited that you were here sharing with us.
Thank you.
All right. So, Dr. Tandra, and I didn't realize you were a doctor.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Yes, I got my honorary doctorate award earlier part of this year, so I'm super excited about that. But just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Dr. Tantra Price. I'm formerly known as the Networking Ninja. I do everything, all things networking. A little bit of what I do is I am the editor, chief, and publisher of an amazing magazine, which is called Tapped In, TAPIN magazine. And we're doing some phenomenal things with really promoting women worldwide. We now currently have over 300,000 online distributions. We're internationally, and we're just doing some amazing things, just really uplifting women. I truly believe that even as a part of leadership, that, it's kind of really our responsibility, to promote other people and celebrate them as their wins. Because I believe once one of us win, we all win. I think really the part of important reason for me being on this particular panel, and thank you so much, is I love to talk about leadership, and I love to talk about the fact of collaborating, which is what we should do as leaders, to collaborate and to help others win. One of the things that we do in our women's group is we talk about the juggles and struggles of what it takes to be in business. And this is such a good platform to really, dive in and talk about that. Like Ms. Franklin said, some of the things that people aspire to do and want to do, but it really takes resources and connections to make that happen. And through the power of networking, once we plug into it, it's amazing what it can do for us. And not only that, it allows us to be able to, distribute our message and speak on different platforms, such as myself, that I'm a part of the Leadership Experience Tour. We speak on those platforms and we really share our message to thousands of people. And that's what leadership is really all about.
Right. Absolutely. And I have to say this again. Now, my son is in the background, so I apologize if you guys hear him. He's playing a video game. He tends to get very, very excited, no matter how many times I tell him I'm live. Okay, so let me just say, so thank you, Dr. Price, for being a part of this symposium. It's always good to collaborate. I remember meeting you for the Leadership Experience Tour in September of last year.
Yeah.
And just your energy was just so great, and I mentioned that because a lot of times people present, one way online, when you meet them in person or you talk to them one-on-one. It's like, okay, so, that was your representative, I guess, central representative, so I appreciate you and your, down to earthness and just being genuine and showing up authentically. Let me just say that. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So that's a little bit about who's here today. And let me just share a little bit about myself. So I'm Jacqueline Cabot Harrison. Again, I'm your host for the Eight Queens Roundtable Leadership Symposium, which actually happens 3 times a year in January, May, and September. And this is the #1 platform bringing together women to teach leadership development, personal development, as well as, leadership, professional, and personal development, right? I'm going to say those 3 things, not necessarily in that order, but those are 3 things that we all need to be able to scale our business in the way that we want to, right? We have to develop ourselves personally, professionally, and as a leader. And this particular symposium is specifically designated to leadership, right? And talking about what makes a good leader, right? How can you refine your leadership skills? Because I truly believe that we as African American women have innate leadership qualities within us. They just sometimes need to be nurtured, right? But
Yes.
some of us don't even consider ourselves as leaders. Out of all of the women that I've interviewed for this particular symposium, as well as just in conversation, it always comes up. You know, in all of our leadership journey, our leadership journeys are all individual, right? And I know that you ladies can relate to one of these young ladies' stories about leadership and how they began to actually see themselves as a leader and begin to walk in that leadership role. So that is my hope and that is my why for bringing together these individuals in this symposium, as well as the anthology project, Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within, which will drop next month. So make sure you are following me so you'll know exactly when the pre-sales start and you can grab your copy. So that's why this is so near and dear to me to talk about this, talk about leadership. You know, I think it's so important. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. So Tavara, share with us, what do you think are some of the qualities that a good leader has? And take it a little bit further and let us know how some of these qualities can be developed or further nurtured.
That's such a great question, Jackie, because as I was sitting here and listening to both of you guys speak on leadership and your own journey, the first couple of things that came to my mind, authenticity as well as ability to learn. Now, I'm gonna speak on the ability to learn first because sometimes I notice I've observed that people get into certain roles, they think they got it all in the bag, that they know it, and you might. Hey, I'm not knocking you. You might really do know your stuff. There's a lot of people that really do know their stuff. However, I feel as though a good leader is a teachable one who is willing to continue to learn. I teach people, even my clients, there's two things that you're never going to stop doing in life. You're never going to stop healing, and you're never going to stop learning. Those two things come hand in hand. Why? Because in life, I like to say life likes to life. It likes to throw little daggers at us, and we come to once we thought we learned ourselves or knew a particular situation, here's something else that comes up that we have to acquire more knowledge of. And so if you allow yourself to stop and think that, okay, I'm going to close myself off to anything new, or I'm going to close myself off to suggestions and allow other people come and bring other people up to fill my shoes and mentor them and things of that nature. I feel as though your path for leadership, how can I say this, I'm just gonna say that honestly, it can almost be short lived, and then people would not want to follow you as often, or feel as though they'll start to begin to question you because of the fact of you going in very close minded, not willing to want to learn anything else new, not willing to want to have other people come and share the spotlight or whatever the case may be. I feel as though everybody has an opportunity to engage and get a piece of the pie, but a good leader makes room for everyone.
Yes.
Not only is that, they have to be authentic. What you said to Dr. Price, you thought she was going to show up as one person and be a totally. We as leaders, people want consistency,
They
right?
do.
Just like you want consistency in your relationships or anywhere else, people want a leader who's very consistent with how they represent themselves. And so if you
Mhm.
come and you're this way, and you're that way, now you're confusing your audience, and you confusing me as far as how can no, you're gonna lead me in a direct path, or get me to the space that I need to get to. But you're showing up at these totally different people. And so consistency in your authenticity is what I'm a firm believer in, what makes a good leader.
Awesome. Awesome. You know what? I'm gonna just piggyback off on a lot. Listen, one thing I believe a good leader is note takers or money makers. So I'm always writing notes. So if you see me
That's
looking
right.
down, that's what I'm doing. But I just want to piggyback off of a lot of that. One thing to me, a good leader is one that leads by example. I think
Yes.
that we have to be able to uh do what we say and say what we do. I also
Mhm.
think too a good leader is, we got to have clarity. We got to have clarity on what we're talking about, our purpose and our mission. I mean, people lead people who are excited. People follow you because they're excited about what you're doing. They have a clear message. They see their self with inside your vision. And that's one
Mhm.
thing that leaders, sometimes they don't paint that vision. They paint a half vision. And Miss Franklin, you are so right. I truly believe that every day, you know what, we should wake up as leaders ready to learn, ready for our teacher to be there for us. I mean, I'm always, every morning I wake up and people will hear me say, who's teaching me today? Because I never, even if I do know something, I really don't know it, because
Mhm.
there's always something about what you think that there's still more information that you really don't know about that topic. So you
Mhm.
have to be willing to be open. um I do too think consistency is another thing. One thing about what we fail to do in leadership and why leadership is so important, you're right, it's consistency. It's the visibility of always showing up no matter
Mhm.
what. I think a lot of times leaders, they kind of come and go, right? And you don't really know, like you said, are they a true leader? I mean, is what they're doing consistent? And by them being consistent means they have to be visible to the people that they're trying to lead. I mean, I think we know just from our presidency, from what we've had and things that has happened just in our society, that when we see people showing up, it gives us the energy, the courage, and the excitement to want to follow them. I mean, they are truly our leaders, but we have to be able to put what we want out there, and we have to be consistent, and we have to be clear and concise about where we're trying to take the people that are following us. That's what
Mhm.
makes, I think, a good leader.
You know what? I'm gonna piggyback on something that popped in my mind when you said consistency and visibility, Dr. Price. The next thing that I was thinking about, what makes a good leader, is they have to know their limits. I feel
Yes.
as though that we can show up, be visible, and most people believe a good leader is one who's just always got a plan after another on the go, just
Mhm.
working like a oil machine. But at the same time, I read this. I didn't read it. My husband, he showed me this video. I can't remember who the guy was. And I hate that I can't, but he talked about on the Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah,
on,
okay, yeah.
on the Breakfast Club, he talked about not wanting to hire workaholics because they don't have balance.
They
And
don't.
so I realized, and they don't. And I said, "Ooh, I'm a workaholic." But honestly, a good leader honestly they know their limitations. They have balance. They know their boundaries. Okay,
Mhm,
because if I'm a person who's always going, 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 and you always see me doing these things, and you don't see me take a break at all,
mhm,
it makes me question, like, okay, like what some
mhm,
other things might be going on. Like, how can you effectively lead me and lead by example, but you are not taking any time for yourself to take care of yourself? A leader is
mhm,
one that takes care of themselves. A leader is one that ensures that they are effective enough to
mhm.
lead,
Oh
right? But
yeah, yeah.
if I'm not, taking the breaks, or, taking the necessary measures that I need to take, then it's just like, how can I really effectively, lead? And the visibility, all of that stuff is great, but then it's just like sometimes you wonder, like, so you get burnt out. You get
I
burnt out with what you do.
You know what? I think we do. I think we all get burned out to a certain point. I think a good leader is well rounded because just like you said, I mean, we talk about, again, like I said, we talk about a lot of the juggles and struggles in business. And, a lot of times, it is that mental health. We see how things are going on and mentally how it affects us and how that tempers us from being good leaders. But I think when you put yourself in a sister circle of amazing leaders who can have these positive and great conversations with you, it just takes your business all to a whole nother level. Hey, Miss Kern. I think another thing probably what really makes us good leaders too is that, you know, um, we take time to step back and breathe. I mean,
Yeah.
again, we have to do the, whatever the meditation or the woo-saw in, but we got to take time to breathe and say, hey, you know what? Today is okay. But a true leader, they want to see not just your business side, but they want to see how your other side of you, like, are you family? Are you, do you like bowling or whatever? I mean, like, how can I be able to make a better connection with you besides just on the business side? Because, we are always looking for walking billboards, right?
Yep. Yep. That's true. That's true.
Oh boy, ladies, this is awesome. And this is part of the reason why I like to do these types of symposiums is because and I see Miss Kern there. Miss Kern,
Yes.
when you get a minute, I'm gonna say a couple words. You get a minute, go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll bring you on in. But I think that's why it's so important to have these conversations, and like you said, people want to know who the person is behind that brand. That's how we connect. That's how we relate to one another. And that's also part of being um, an effective leader. That's part of leadership, is being able to knowing who you are, showing up authentically, showing up consistently, right? Being able to effectively communicate, right? And leading by example. So many people talk that talk, but they're not really walking that walk. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and what that makes me think of is I remember, always like a parent, smoking a cigarette, right? And be like taking a puff and then saying, don't smoke, say no to smoking, say no to drugs. But then they turn around and do that, you know what I mean? And it's like kids, just like people, we pick up and follow what people are doing. Not, I mean, you have to make sure this congruent. What you say is what you do. You know what I mean? And just by us showing up, we are leading by example.
We are
showing up consistently and authentically, you're leading by example. We're setting examples for one another as well as the younger generation. You know what I mean? That we as women, we can be leaders because a lot of us, and I'm finding this as I talk to different women, and myself included, I didn't necessarily see a lot of this growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I looked at my aunts, my grandmother, my mother, I didn't necessarily see them in leadership roles. So everyone's leadership journey is different. I didn't necessarily see myself as a leader. Like some of us, they're like, oh, I knew I was a leader, from I was on the playground and so on and so forth, right? They knew that they were natural born leaders. Some of us, we at the finish line, but our journey to get there is different, right?
It really is. I just want to say too, piggyback on that too. Like a lot of times, I think a lot of times that, people that follow people still sometimes just because you follow somebody don't mean that they're still a good leader.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have to think about that because we got to look at the alternative motive behind their leadership as well. So I just wanted to throw that in because you're right. I know a lot of times when, back in the day, we look at some amazing speakers. I did a segment a while back about some amazing leaders like Rosa Parks and all them, how they did their leadership. I mean, and what the movement that they made, and people, like I said, got excited about what they were doing and seeing that the cause was much bigger and greater than them. And that's what made them became the leaders that they was when they put all this information and this movement together. These ladies was moving toward direction for something positive change. So
that's right. That's right. Miss Kern, Cherry, You have joined us. You were in the house.
Hello, hello, hello. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Kern.
Oh, well, I'm Kern Cherry, co-founder, director of Success Women's Conference, also creator and producer Level Up and Power Up Summit. I have been, I actually coach people on how to create their own profitable event and how to increase their visibility. Now, of course, I've been producing events for over 20 plus years now. And as y'all can see, everything is coming back now as a hybrid of some sort. So I'm getting in that mode of teaching people how to really do that. It's a juggling act. I'm also a co-owner of my own home care business, PR and Home Care, which is 25 years old this year as well. So kind of busy, always doing. I love sharing and hopefully helping people find their purpose, their gifting, and walking in it. It's really what people should be doing. I think a lot of people are so busy chasing somebody else's dream that they can't find their own. You can't get caught up into trying to do something because somebody else did it and they were successful with it or whatever it is. If it's not your calling, it's not going to be as profitable, even if it's temporarily. And sometimes people hit temporary success and they think, well, this is where I'm supposed to be. Well, I always say, if you want to know where you're supposed to be, ask God. I mean, it's written in the scriptures. Proverbs 18:16 says, if you walk in your gifts and calling, and I'm summarizing, he will sit you at the table of great men. Your gifts are not meant to be a struggle. Your gifts are what you're born with. And so once you do that, you'll find that it's just easy. You hear people say all the time, I love this so much, I would do it for free. They're working in their gifts. Athletes say it all the time because somehow, somewhere, they found their gifts early and they walk in it. So that's how, even as a business owner, sometimes we find ourselves doing things that we thought we were supposed to be doing, and you find yourself closing it up, and if you're smart, close it up before it takes you down and move on. And that's just because it's not where you were called to be. It's not that it's just a failure. Failures are things you learn from.
Yes.
So a good leader knows when to call it a day and literally move on. Move on and but a really great leader knows their calling as well. You can hire people to do things for you so you can be successful at something. But again, knowing your calling actually allows you to thrive in business. So that's what I would encourage most people. Most people I'm watching, I can just tell it's just not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was some good juice, Miss Kern.
Your gifts, I wrote that down. Your gifts are not to be a struggle. That's true.
Right. I just no taking the money makers.
Right. The first thing that came to my mind was like, where if it's a gift, then that means it's natural to you. It's innate.
Right.
And that means you should be operating in those things. I talk to people all the time about emotional capacity, operating within your emotional capacity. And I kind of think of that as in the same fashion as you operating within your gifts. Like if you're operating in your gifts, then I'm not saying things are going to be easy, but things will find it to be a lot more naturally flowing, and you'll be more subjected to, some of the blessings that comes with it. When I tell people that because I'm a therapist for mental health. And so, my husband, he's like, man, you really do love what you do. I'm like, it really doesn't feel like work. When you go from workspace to, I'm saying corporate, where you're under somebody and it actually feels like work, like you're exhausted. But when I come from home, from work most days, now sometimes I am a little jealous because I'm gonna talk to people back to back all day about 8 hours at the time, but it's not that draining, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to ever do this again in life. It just feels like a conversation. And so
Right.
it just feels like, when you wake up and you can actually just say that I love what I do, and it doesn't feel like work, then yeah, I feel like you're kind of are operating in your gifts, that's natural to you. You should be
Mm.
finding the things, you should be, your passions should be, within your gifts.
Yes,
Right.
yes. You know what? Listen, this is some good juice. You know what? I totally understand that too. You know what? But I also think too, a leader understand that there's no bad days. Let me explain that to you, because I know, like, a lot of times, we sometimes we can get overwhelmed because whether it's, a deal didn't come through, a client didn't sign up, somebody didn't show up to my workshop, my program, or all that. They get caught up, they let their emotions get caught up in what's going on instead of understanding, listen, there ain't no bad days here, because just like Kern said, look, God got plenty of better good days waiting ahead for us. And this is like the journey that you have to go through to understand where you're getting to. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand that. I mean, even in the midst of the storm, y'all, we
Yeah.
got to get out there with our rowboat, in our boats, right? Get to pedaling,
Yep.
keep
Yep.
going. Because
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Once we stop, then the people who come, we're trying to lead or follow us, gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna stop too then. But that's not
Mm-hmm.
what leadership is about. It's about, how do we serve? How do we give back? How do we keep going? How do we understand that, what? Just because today wasn't a good day don't mean tomorrow ain't gonna be a good day. We got to keep going.
Exactly.
And you got to be able to do it during adversities. I would give a quick little story. So I literally just finished a workshop for mothers. Every year I'm doing a workshop that's called They Didn't Say Motherhood Would Be, and it's actually for mothers and caretakers, that you're understanding your role in motherhood and how to overcome those challenges. More importantly, how to regain your own identity, because you were you before you became in these roles, right? And so being able to get women to understand how to reclaim their identity and time, outside of being a mother and caretaker. But anywho, so when I did my event, I had to hire a caterer that was outside of my normal caterer. My normal caterer wasn't available. So I hired somebody else. Went on Thumbtack. I said, okay, this person seemed like they good. But there's a lot of scamming going on. And so on the day of the event, she showed up maybe about like 30 minutes late or so. And I'm saying, it's literally 30 minutes before it's time. And I'm starting to get upset. My husband, he's like, Tavara, he had a look at me in the eyes and he said, Tavara, the show has to go on. You
Mhm.
get stuck. You can't allow your emotions to get stuck in that moment. And you're not served. You're not give the people what they came here for. If that means that you got to be able to delegate and you have to do a quick change up on the plans, then that's okay. A good leader, what I learned in that moment is, what makes a good leader is not only your ability to adapt, even, but your ability to be okay with change, with just changes that come up at the last minute. So, but she
Mhm.
ended up showing up, y'all. She ended up showing up. Thank God. Scam. But at that moment, I was about to, like, just drown myself, and I had to literally think, like, okay, I had to think on my toes. I had to be okay with with my plans, my vision being turned. And sometimes as leaders, we may have a certain vision and we get gun hold on that vision, but then God has something different for us and be like, we need to change up in that, but we get caught up in that same vision that's not there. And so sometimes you have to be able to learn how to be okay with certain changes at a quick fix and not be stuck in what you thought would be. So
So you know what? This is a good opportunity because that was going to be my next question. Is to share and be, transparent. If whatever you want to be transparent with, okay, and let us know what some of the challenges have been. And I'll be transparent and say I was a little with the panels today. I I got caught in my feelings for a minute, about different people saying they couldn't show up and or they forgot or whatever the case is. But just like you said, Tavara, I had to just kind of get myself together and say, okay. And remember, my mother would always say, "One monkey don't stop no show." And I remember at the time thinking, like, "What are you talking about, Mama?" But it's like now, you know, I got, I'm human, just like everybody. I had a vision, I had anticipation about how many people were going to show up, how it was going to flow. But at the same time, you have to be flexible. You know what I mean? You have to be flexible because things change, things happen, and you have to get yourself together, right? And continue on with the show. You know what I mean? So I totally feel you on that. So go ahead and just share some different challenges. I guess Tavara, you share one of your challenges. I guess Kern, if you could share a challenge, and basically let the ladies know how you were able to move forward from that. Because we're gonna fall down, we're gonna, make mistakes, things aren't gonna turn out as planned, but how you were able to, stand strong and be able to move forward and learn from that experience.
Well, no, so I'm gonna piggy back off what Miss Franklin was talking about. When it comes to events, and I used to do this a lot pre-COVID, I have just learned to you have to come in the day of saying it is what it is, right? You can't fix it. The day of, a couple of days, however many days is your conference, you won't be able to fix it. Your best is to come in and be the host that you're supposed to be. As the host of the conference, you have to focus, turn your attention to the guests themselves. And it's like with when I did Level Up this time, my plan was not to really focus on the in-person side. So once we did have the in-person side, I'm big on attendance, so I didn't really focus on that this time. But I realized that I had to change something the next time and really focus on that, go back to what I do well, which is focusing on putting people in the room. So I had to learn, okay, people really want to come in person. You need to be prepared for that. So you need to prep the audience from that. So you have to learn, make mental notes, because typically as a host, you don't have time to go around and write down and assess things during the event. As I said, you have to come in and take that production hat off and go into host mode and focus on making them happy, the people that showed up or the people that are supposed to be there, and you want to make sure that they have a great time. So you can't worry your food person or whoever. They some just show up when they want to, right? And so you just have to hand that duty over to somebody else to make sure that they do show up and make an announcement if you need to. But most of the time, people won't even know. They'll say, well, I guess they weren't planning to have food. They don't know unless you tell them. So you have to really kind of guide the whole experience so that they are receiving the experience that you can give them right then. And so like I said, with events, I've seen the best and the worst of them, right? You can have a lot of people, a lot of vendors, speakers, all that great stuff, and then the people don't show up. Or you get rain. Rain is always like the worst enemy, I said. I'm sure outside of snow, but rain, it just makes people sit at home. And so now you're doing this dance on, are they going to show up? Will they show up after the rain? So mentally you have to eventually let it go and know that it's not always, it's just not in your control. It is not. I say on those kind of days, get up and pray and keep it moving, because you really can't change nothing the day of the event. You really can't. All you can do is learn what, if there is something that you can do to change it, right? If there is something you can do better the next time, then you do that. But definitely don't focus on the negative the day of the event, because it will radiate through your event. Everybody will feel the negativity, and they'll start making the whole event negative. So that's not what you want to do. So you got to change some things, structure it different. But as far as other things, being in business as long as I have, I've definitely seen the bottom and I've seen the top side of it. You just, again, it's I know we all started to using the word pivot when COVID hit, but if you're in business and you've been in business a while, you've been pivoting for a long time, and it's just a matter of willing to be flexible. Successful people, they make adjustments.
Yes.
They make adjustments so that they can continue to thrive. And they're, like I said before, sometimes you just have to be willing to say, you know what, this is not it's not working. I need to let it go and keep moving. It's always why I always talk about you need to have 7 streams of income. Why? So you don't have to
get stuck
down with the ship, right?
Yep.
You don't go down with the ship. You actually just shift, right? You shift. Okay, well, that stream of income is gone. It's probably been gone a while, right? If you think about it, you probably haven't been making money off of that in a while. It was just a matter of you mentally saying, this is not for me. And so that income's gone. But you got these other incomes over here. So you focus, you shift your focus over there, somewhere that you can be successful. It's often why I say in events, we got to stop having big old parties, right? Because a lot of times we want things to look a certain way, be a certain way, all this flair and stuff like that. But if you really think back and pull back, you can see many ways to save money and still have a successful event, right? But a lot of us go for that big party. I gotta put on a show. I gotta do this. And got a smart business person somewhere as they're getting towards that 30 days, they start shopping. And we can't afford this, can't afford that, can't afford this. Somebody's gonna pay for it. So you might as well make the adjustments so that you still can have a successful event. So anyway, that's just my experience. I could give you story after story in my home care business, but it's always something, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miss.
You know what? Listen, I can concur with what both said. For me, listen, I walk into the door with grace, asking for grace. You know what I'm saying? And I truly believe that the blessings in the show up. I can go back to when, as a quick story, before, COVID came, I was doing a lot of my women events, and, there were packed house. We came on to virtually, we were getting packed house, and then, just slowly but surely, it just kind of started twirling down. Well, I still feel like, the blessings didn't show up. I think you should show up no matter what. If you say you're going to do something, be there. Your people or your audience, they're looking for you. So anyway, this particular time, I think we may have had, maybe it got down to like 3 people one day. And it was the best conversation that took place at that particular day. And Nina and I had showed up, like, even when you're talking about events, I mean, you got to come in and you got to give your 100% when you show up at these events, no matter what happens. Nina had showed up, could have been the game changer of someone else that was going through a struggle in their business. But we had the best conversation. And to these days, you talk about leadership. I mean, these ladies follow me and believe in the vision and see themselves in the vision because they understand that, hey, showing up is the key to it all, no matter what happens. But it takes us as leaders to show up and to be there when we say we're going to be there. It takes us to show up and give our 100%. Guys, we can't do it without it. And it also takes us being showing ourselves to the problems that we have, because even during our conversation when we're talking, guess what, I just like Miss Franklin said, I'm not perfect. Listen, I got problems too. We all got problems. But when you can really sit down and have a conversation and share that with people, and they get it, you guys, they get it, they understand it. It's not like, they're looking at all the glory and everything. Guess what, let me tell you what happened in the background, okay? Let me tell you what happened and how we got here today. And those are the type of leaders that people really look up and understand and want to relate to. And guess what? They will follow you. They will support you because they understand the struggle. They understand what's happening and what's going on. So all I could just say is, listen, I walk into the door asking for grace. And I always believe, people hear me say it all the time, the blessings in the show up. You got to show up no matter what, no matter good, bad, or what ugly. Listen, there's no bad days. There's no bad days. We have to look at it, take it, learn from it. That's the good thing about it, is that we can learn from it and know that tomorrow's gonna be even better. So
That's right.
that's
I remember one time I had done this. I had planned one of my roundtables, and I had all of these people that had agreed to come on live with me, and we was gonna, talk about, I don't know, whatever the topic was at that time, because all of my topics are typically around women's empowerment, to help us develop personally, and professionally. And I had all these women, right? But I didn't realize that I could only bring a certain amount of people on live. And I remember at that time, I was like sweating, and I was like, oh my God, and I felt so bad, like, oh, okay, I got all these people that showed up to bring it and to talk and that were willing to take through this discussion, but I couldn't bring them all on the screen. And at that moment, I'm telling y'all, I was like Tabara was saying when she was waiting on that person to come, the food lady, I felt like on the inside, nobody could tell, but on the inside, I was having my own little personal meltdown. You know what I mean? But I had to just, first of all, I had to just apologize, ladies, I do apologize, so on and so forth. I had to admit to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had to just, be authentic and just pick up the pieces, because the show was still gonna go on, right?
Yeah.
I still had those ladies that the audience was ready, my speakers were ready, and I had to just pull it together and get it done. You know what I mean? And it turned out fine. But that's, as leaders, that's what we do. We have to be flexible. We have to be flexible and understand and not be so hard on ourselves. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can get so caught up in, oh, I messed up and this didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, this, maybe my photographer didn't show up, or half of the folks didn't come, just whatever the case. And it's going to happen, but we have to give ourselves grace too, and forgive ourselves, because sometimes we're our own worst enemy, and you hear people say all the time that we get in our own way. I can't remember which one of y'all said it, but they may not have even known, or maybe they didn't even expect to all be on the screen at the same time. And the audience definitely didn't know, or the audience may not have even known that they was going to get fed that day. A lot of times I know we come expecting food, you know what I mean? But hey, maybe they was going to get it that day, maybe they weren't, you know what I mean? So it's just like, we have to just give ourselves some grace and be flexible. So
I agree.
I'm looking
Yeah,
at
I was gonna say this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, food not showing up is really, it's really not the worst thing. Trust me. I've had food show up and wish it wouldn't have shown up. That bad. I'm just gonna say that out loud. But I mean, I one of the conferences that I used to do, it's a caregiver conference. I did it for 6 years, and we always had like 600 plus people in attendance in person. And the people that I partnered with the year before decided to steal my conference. And I had no idea until like 2 weeks before the conference when they hosted their conference, and people I personally knew decide I had thought it was my conference. So
Mm.
where they put their time into the other conference, so when you have a bunch of people who paid to vend and be a part of the conference they've counted on for years, and nobody really shows up, that for me is like, I mean, for me, that's like the nightmare of nightmares, because you playing this. It's a standard conference, and how would you, a partner to come in and to literally steal food off your table is like, to me, it's just evil. But
Yeah.
and my friends told me you should go approach their bosses. I'm like, they're men. They could care less about how I feel. Their bosses don't care because it's about $1. And so, how do you recover from that, right? Your recovery may not happen during the event. It may not happen right after the event. You may have to make some adaptations and realize that as long as God is your head, because I believe in the quote, the Bible quote that says you reap what you sow, right? And it keeps me very tight because it keeps me from going out and doing something extremely vindictive. But at the same sense, I know their time is coming, and so what did he give me from that conference was Success Women's Conference, which blew up when we first had the very first conference, was 540 women, I mean, in attendance. And we couldn't project that. They showed up because they were looking for it, they asked for it, and they showed up. And it grew to be one of the biggest conferences on the coast, in the region, literally getting close to 1,500 people, virtually over 17,000. So did those people try to come after that conference? Of course they did. Now, it's only my partner that kept me from doing something really vindictive on that part. But at the same sense, God took care of that as he laid everybody off, right? And so you have to be patient enough to wait on God. And it seems like, wow, I want mine now, right? I want mine now. You're talking about people I used to pay over 4,000 for publicity, stealing my stuff. How am I paying you and you coming back and taking food off my table?
That's right.
It's just, but don't be surprised when people do that, because they will.
They definitely will.
They will definitely do that. So don't, so yeah, there's stuff way worse than the little fires we be putting out behind the scene that people really never figure out. They just don't. I can tell you, Success Largest Conference, we had so many fires. I was like, I need a break. I need a room. And I will be taking my own break. My partners didn't know where I was. Nobody. I'm like, I'm taking a break. I just too much going on here. I mean, we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of assistants, a lot of people in charge, and it just was so overwhelming. I mean, it was larger than life, but it was a lot. And so and it makes you realize some of the things that we just, kind of explode in our mind to being a massive critical problem. You turn around, look at those, you say, okay, that's we'll figure that out. It'll work out. It'll be okay. We'll deal with the aftermath. But that's simple. But over here, we may just have to cover it up like a dead body and keep moving.
Well, ladies, I have to say, this has been awesome. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you didn't catch us from the beginning, and go back and listen to the replay. It's some good knowledge and some good tips and tools that will help you continue to grow professionally, personally, and in leadership. Okay. And I have one other person that joined, but we're actually just finishing up now. But again, I'm your host, Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. And this has been the panel for the Eight Queens Roundtable Leadership Symposium. Please go ahead and check out all of the other exclusive interviews. And I'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.